You're the owner of a small business, which means you're also the tech guy, and HR, and personal assistant, and head honcho, and intern. You could use another pair of hands, like the experts you'll find at Verizon Small Business Days, April 21st through 27th. Get a free tech check, special deals, and more. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Hi, this is Tom Cock. Welcome to Talking Real Money, the podcast. Here every day to help you better understand how money and investing really work. And, I hope you know the song Love and Marriage. My rendition of it is by Frank Sinatra. Yeah, it's going back a few years. It's a little campy. It's cute. It's basically pointing out the fact that in Mr. Sinatra's generation, love and marriage, you get the message. They go together. Yeah, as he said, like horse and carriage, can't have one without the other. You get the message. Why is he bringing this up in a financial podcast? Here's why. Because many of you are forgetting that, like love and marriage, which at one time did go together, risk and return works the same. They really are sewn together, and people are forgetting that again. Let me bring up a couple of areas of recent concern, one of which is the use of leverage. The other is many of you sort of reaching for yield. Leverage, back big time. Now remember, people borrowed money to buy stocks, borrowed money on margin way back 100 years ago. Remember how that turned out? About 90% of the money invested in the market in the late 1920s was borrowed. And then when the market turned against them, that's when you had people jumping out windows because there was no way they could cover those margin calls. Today, I think margin, from what I can read, and I don't think anybody has an exact number on it, somewhere around 10%. But it is growing. And I read with great interest that leveraged and inverse exchange-traded funds raked in $16.3 billion in the first 10 months of the year. That's the biggest 10-month period in the history of that type of investment. Of course, those funds use leverage to double or triple daily returns. And you know what happens on the other side, right? Like it did in March and April, or February, March rather, when the S&P 500 fell 34% over 5 weeks. You know what happened to people's money then? A representative of exchange-traded funds said, people see the strong performance and think, I want it too. The market environment is conducive to leverage, but investors should be very, very careful. I don't think this is a product that any individual investor should use. And really, we would never use this. We would never recommend it. But professionals who are timing markets, who have a disciplined system, could use this. Again, I wouldn't recommend it for anybody listening to our podcast. And by the way, I suspect you will see more of all this now that the Securities and Exchange Commission gave a blanket blessing to new leveraged exchange-traded funds, even though our friends at Vanguard decided they were not going to get into that business. But leverage in exchange-traded funds, leverage as part of the market has gone up dramatically. That's worrisome. The other part that's, I think, even equally worrisome is this search for yield, this idea that you got to go out and find fixed income that's paying a decent rate of return. Remembering that government bonds, I think the 10 years less than 1, the 30 years just a little bit more than 1%. It's very, very low for money you can probably plan on getting back. Now, and this came up in a recent radio show we did where a caller called in and said, where do I put my money to get a 5% annual safe return? Now, I wanted to say amen because that's how I answer a prayer. I didn't on the air because my partner, Don McDonald, gets upset when I'm too flip with people. But instead, we just said there isn't such a thing. There isn't, but there's products out there that want you to believe that. We touched on one on the radio show, the Granite Shares, HIPS, U.S. High Income. which is not a safe bond fund. The yield, it's around 9.8%, but this uses closed-end funds. It uses asset management and business development companies, REITs, master limited partnerships. This is not safe money. Absolutely not. And it's not a product, again, that we would use nor recommend. So, a couple of things to keep in mind here. Number one, you own stocks for growth, right? For movement up. You own bonds for the ballast. Stocks to make the money, bonds to keep the money. And please don't look at parts of your portfolio and say, well, that made a lot of money and that didn't. It's designed that way. It should be that way. Risk and portfolio returns really do go together. Yeah, really like a horse and carriage. And if you do this right, you will ride into the sunset and you will not be worried every day about what's going on with stocks or bonds. And by the way, we're happy to look at your portfolio to make sure it's positioned for you, for your future. We'll give you 1 hour of our time absolutely free, no cost, no sales pitch, no obligation. Simply go to the Contact Us form at vestory.com. And thank you for joining me, Tom Cock, here on Talking Real Money.
Talking Real Money. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately and consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestory, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and disclosures. Are we done now?